I wouldn't be bothered using it, because Mum would have said it was wrong.
Did you ever visit Dr. Smith? Did you ever have contact with Dr. Smith after the war?
No, not really. I meant to when I went to England, but she was in... No, she was in Scotland. When I was in Scotland, I made inquiries, but she had returned to England.
Yes.
You know, when I went with a friend who was Middle East.
So, just if we can summarise two things, Pat. Would you be prepared to tell me what was the worst thing? Would you be prepared to tell me what was the worst thing you experienced in your time as a prisoner of war?
I suppose it's fear, but I can't remember. It's very hard to say. I really couldn't tell you. It was all. No, the starvation was the worst thing, of course.
Yes.
And we were hungry. We had very little to eat.
Yes.
So see, I was about 3.5 stone. I know that.
And what was the most uplifting part of your time as a prisoner of war?
Well, to a certain extent, it was the choir of the Catholics.
Yes.
My great-grandfather was an archdeacon, my grandfather was an archdeacon. This is in the Church of England, of course.
Yes.
But then these were the Catholic nuns, and we had 2 sisters who were both Catholics, and they had their own choir, and they sang beautifully. It was really, that was the most uplifting, it was the most lovely feeling, just to sit there and hear the sound floating over you, and then they were good.
Yes, yes. Well, Pat, I'd like to say I am deeply indebted to you. I'm deeply indebted to you for giving me your time this morning.
Oh, well,
and sharing some of these memories, which I'm sure some are not pleasant.
What's that?
I'm sure some of these memories are not pleasant.
Yes.
Yes.
But
I think people need to understand what, what occurred.
Mind you, it's a pretty old hat now. They've had so many wars since. They've never been free.
No.
No.
Thanks again, Pat. During Pat's address or talk, she has mentioned that they arrived in Singapore from Australia. The 10th AGH was deployed out to Malacca. At one stage she was detached to the 2nd 4th Casualty Clearing Station up here close to KL. When the Japanese invaded, the medical facilities were moved back and concentrated on Singapore Island. On about the 13th of February 1942, the decision was made to evacuate all the nurses to Australia. One group had already gone, and Pat was in the second group on the Vyner Brook, which moved through the Jurien Sea, down here through the Bangka Straits, and that is where the Vyner Brook was sunk. She then spent time on Bangka Island and at Muntok, subsequently being moved across to Palembang, then back onto Bangka Island, finally through Bangka Island, finally through Palembang, out to this location called Lubuk Linggau. I'm not sure about the pronunciation, but that's the location there, and that's where she was when the war ended.